Becoming one. For this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his own wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Becoming One, a program designed to strengthen marriages, challenge couples, and reignite our passion for loving, godly relationships. Join us as we discuss kingdom marriage principles on Becoming One, hosted by the Sabazans. Becoming One.
Love and honor.
Respect for each other.
Difficult conversations.
Godly relationships.
Let's talk about sex.
I really want to see marriages thriving.
It hurts to see broken relationships.
Let's build marriages together.
Becoming one. Love and honor.
Respect for each other.
Difficult conversations.
Godly relationships.
Let's talk about sex.
I really want to see marriages thriving.
It hurts to see broken relationships.
Let's build marriages together.
Becoming one.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Becoming One. It has been a while, it really has been a while, but we are happy to be back. And as you can see, we have some extra guests in the studio with us. So I'm here with my hubby, and we have some wonderful guests here with us as well.
Of course. And it's a beautiful Friday. Friday?
Of course,
Yeah.
it's Friday
Yeah, it's
evening.
Friday. Yeah, this guys today, free upon itself. It's a new setup for the time being. We're trying something a little
Something
different,
new.
something new.
Yes.
So yeah, it feels different too.
Yeah.
I
We
really
had
have
a
to
little
get-
bit of technical difficulties at the beginning, but we get things.
We're working on
Yes,
it.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
So we really have to get used to this. But nonetheless, it's good to be back on this program.
Oh,
This
yes.
is my favorite program.
Mine too.
Yeah. I make no apologies. Trevor, you're good, but nonetheless. All right.
So as you can see, we have two wonderful guests in studio with us today. Sister Jen Perriman and Brother Ello. All right, what's the proper name, Brother Ello? Ellington?
Ellington.
All right.
Well, yeah, that's a government name, but we can always stick with LO. I like it.
All right. Nice. So we are happy to be back. As we said, this is our favorite program, and we are excited about today because, as you can see, we have two persons here. They are not married. They are two single persons, and today.
They are not choosing a spouse today.
All right.
But nonetheless, this is our topic.
Yes, choosing a spouse.
All right.
Choosing a spouse.
We hope and pray, God, that our conversation be very, 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 interesting and real this evening.
Of course.
And for those of you who are tuned in, you are welcome to, just share your own views hopefully we'll see
Your
it.
comments.
We'll see your comments.
If
yeah,
you have
hopefully.
questions, go right ahead and ask questions. You are free to do so. So we're freeing up as usual. And of course, if you know somebody that should be listening to this program, I know you might be a married person and say, "Oh, I have a friend. Oh, I have, I know somebody, mommy, daddy, somebody, I don't know, auntie, tanty, brother, sister, whoever it is
Share it with somebody.
that you think should be listening to this conversation tonight, share it. Just share it with everybody. Share it. It's going to be very beneficial to all those who listen.
All right. So tonight, as we say, we promise that it will be interesting. All right. So let's get the ball rolling.
Of course.
Yes.
So we want to start off tonight with some questions for the singles. So I know they usually say ladies first, but we not say no ladies first. So anybody who wants to start could start. So we want to start off the program with just a little conversation on some questions that we want to ask single people. All right. The first question I want to ask tonight is, so we're talking about choosing a spouse, right? What do you think, in your own opinion, should be some of the prerequisites of marriage, right? Is there some kind of checklist? A checklist? What are some prerequisites? What should people possibly do or be a part of before they get married? Prerequisites. Anybody could start.
Jenny, you wanna go first or? Ladies first again.
So good afternoon, everyone. I guess y'all should know the name and the face by now.
Just like that.
So to answer the question one, for me, the main prerequisite that I would say is actually enjoying your singleness, but
Okay.
like a lot of persons, they use that time to search for someone. But I think during that period, instead of searching for someone, you become someone. You find yourself, because if you do not find yourself, and oftentimes it's easy to not know if something fits if you do not know what you want.
I get you.
Yeah.
Lovely. I like that. I like that answer because a lot of the times people get married, they don't understand exactly who they are in terms of maybe their goals in life, maybe who they really are, what they like, what they don't like, and they get married to somebody. And sometimes, in getting married to somebody, you have different personalities. So you might get married to somebody who has a very strong personality, and your personality gets lost.
Right.
All right. So it's like a
So
overpowering.
you're not able to be yourself.
Yes.
So like within your singleness, instead of first thinking of finding a partner, you find your purpose.
Yes.
And then you find someone who, actually fits in.
This is some good stuff. Find your purpose and find who you are. I like that. That should definitely be one of the prerequisites of getting married. Find yourself,
Yeah.
find yourself, and your purpose.
Yeah,
Brother
I was just waiting for you to tell me to jump in.
Whatever.
Right, that's right. No, but going back to what Jenny was saying, I find that's a really good answer. And also, wait, so prerequisite in order to like find a spouse, right?
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
So you just start off with the hardest question first. No problem. No problem. So I believe that in order to find a spouse, you should definitely know who you are. But more importantly than knowing who you are is knowing who God is and knowing what God's definition of love is and what's God's definition of a good character. And if you could jump off of what God says, this is love and this is what love should be like. 1 Corinthians, what was that, chapter 13 or something? Love is patient, love is kind, it does not boast, does not envy, it's not puffed up, it's not proud. All of those things. If you could, and then it says love never fails in the end. That's poetry at its finest right there. So like if you could find somebody who has a love that matches that, love that's patient, love that's kind, doesn't envy, it's not puffed up, it's not boastful, and I find you'll find somebody that you could keep. And also somebody who could be with you in the struggle, in the grind pant. Like from the down up to the come up. You need somebody for them times.
I find me jumping into a second question that I have, because I kind of want to point to what should happen before you get married. So before we go into who you're finding and what they should be like, I want to talk about more like what you should do before you get married. So I like the fact that you said you should find out what love is, because a lot of us don't quite understand what love is. For example, you know, in life, people perceive love to be give me gifts. People perceive love to be tell me nice things. All right, although you know, in a way, people can express their love in those ways, because people have what we call the different love
Languages.
yes, the language. So I might perceive, if you give me gifts, I can see you expressing your love to me in that way.
Acts of
However,
service.
right, we have to understand what exactly love is. All right, so guys, this is a new setting for us, so don't mind us if you see somebody has to go back and forth and we are a little relaxed and all of us.
Yeah, we
This
adjusting and
is
things to
this
make
is
sure
we
you
new,
can
this
hear
is
us.
we new setting, so we feel a little relaxed in this environment.
Yeah, we're working on
All right,
things.
but I'm happy that you said that, because love, and I would go to who love is. And that's God himself. And you were just describing Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And that basically describes who God is. Patient, kind. He's not puffed up and all of that. And in order for us to understand what love is, we have to know God.
Right.
We have to know this God that we're talking about, that is being, that he's describing that this is what love is. And if we get to know this God, then we can begin to understand, okay, this is true love. This is what I'm looking for. All right? Although, on the same hand, you might not find somebody who is perfect in that sense, because God is the only perfect one who has all of these qualities. So you may just, you know, in your looking, you might find somebody who is not so kind. Somebody who is maybe a little puffed up.
They want patience.
You might find, you know, some of these things lacking. But I think the more important thing there is to just be able to know what love is, as you said. The true meaning of love. So it's not, my husband sang a song. Remember that song? A lot of y'all might not know it, but it's an old song he sang. I don't think it's on YouTube or anything. Love is not romance. It's not what? Something about roses and scented candles and whatever. Because some people perceive that as love. You know, if you don't buy me some chocolate for Valentine's Day, you love me.
Yeah, they
If you
spend
don't-
at least $50,000.
Yeah, if you don't, you know, some people perceive love as a lot of different things. So we have to understand just what love is. I'm liking that. So Sister Jen said that you have to know who you are, all right, your purpose, all right, understand your purpose and find yourself first.
It's really like embracing your single period,
Right.
because a lot of people confuse being single with being alone.
Right.
But
that's
you know,
facts.
during your singleness, it's a time for you to actually grow closer to God. Because like even if you go back to Genesis with Adam,
All right.
you know, Adam was, God placed him in Eden. God placed him in Eden, and if you translate that like in the Hebrew, you'd find like it means presence.
Right.
So God placed him in his presence, and then you know God said to do this and do that and all these other things. But Adam was there alone in the sense that there was not any other like him. So there were the
Right.
animals and so on. So you know when I say like, you know, embracing your singleness is
Yes.
actually, so you're in God's presence and you find your purpose. So walk the land and, you know, cultivate and do all of these things. So you're in a place where you're in God's presence. So you're in your Eden state.
Right.
So you actually find out now, what is my purpose here?
Ah.
Because you can't jump to loving somebody, because remember, if you don't love yourself, how can you love somebody else?
Oh my gosh.
We know that God is love, yes.
Yes.
But the Bible even said to love your neighbors as yourself. And it starts with friendship before you get a relationship.
Right.
So how can I love you if I don't know myself, if I don't embrace my singleness?
Right.
Right? So sometimes we spend so much time looking for someone that we don't spend any time becoming someone. So then when you find that person, then you don't have anyone to give to them.
Oh my
So
gosh,
that's
this
what I
is
meant
some
by
deep stuff.
embracing your singleness.
This is some deep stuff.
Jenny cooking. Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
I can't add
It's
nothing
like-
to that.
It's
Just
like
amen.
so it's like she ready to find a spouse. She
Yeah.
knows what she about. You see, one of the things about it for me is like a lot of people are looking for something in someone without checking on what they have to give to someone. So you're looking for something, the prerequisite is what you can find in this person. Some people have the idea that this man or woman need to have money, need to have a car, they need to, and all of these things are not bad per se, but what is the real deal? Is it just this vain stuff, or these things that, if he doesn't have his education or if she doesn't have this education, then they can't be my spouse because of that. Some people may be just looking for potential in others. They don't need to have anything. I feel like when my wife met me, all I had was potential. It's some kind of rough. And most persons might say, well, I am not choosing that man as for my spouse because he doesn't have anything but potential. Potential, maybe because you have life, you have strength, you can gain something, you can work, you understand? Maybe you have mind, but you don't have nothing physically. And that's a deterrent for many people, in this day and age. It may be kind of harsh to say that way, but some parents actually teach their children, this is the way you find a spouse. Make sure he has a piece of land or she has a piece of land. Make sure she has a good job. And at the same time,
Well, all of that
we're
is
not
good,
saying
Yeah.
that is not important.
Yeah.
Because you find somebody in a certain way with potential, but it is not being utilized. So someone may have the potential, but the potential is being is sitting there like a vegetable on the shelf, just rotting in a way. Who would want to put themselves with something like that? What will happen is, just as the vegetable rottens, just so you will rotten, just the same. You understand? So whilst potential is good, there must be something more than just the potential. Even a man who says he loves God and prays every day, but then do not do all the other thing. A matter of fact, Adam, if we go there, when he was in the garden, he was working.
That's right.
You
That's
understand?
right.
The man was working.
Yes, before he met. Yes.
Right?
Yes. before
God
he was given-
saw he was alone. He was just working. He was alone. So God said, you know what? Let me make a helpmate for him. You check? And I'll leave that right there. That's how I end up speaking
I like
things
where
of
you
the
went.
marriage.
I like where you went with the prerequisites. So it's not just about, yes, so we talk about, knowing who you are, understanding your purpose. But I like that as well, because there are some things that some people would say, before I get married, I must own a piece of land.
Yeah.
I must finish my bachelor's. So some people would say, that's it for me. That's my prerequisite. I must be able to travel the world. I must be able to, and some people come up with some ridiculous things too. I must sample Sherry, Kim, this one and that one before I get married. I must
It's
some
some
people
kinda-
call that I must enjoy my life.
Enjoy my
first.
life, yeah.
Yeah.
It's some
And
kind of
that's not-
harsh and kind of like, if it's not
But
real, but
it's
it's
reality.
real.
That's what some people. That's how some people
It's
think.
real.
Yes, but as my husband said, while all being able to acquire some things, that is good. We're not saying it's bad. Being able to maybe get your bachelor's, maybe finish, I don't know, law school or whatever it is, maybe getting a job or whatever the case might be. All of these things are good, but we're questioning tonight, right, whether or not these things are necessarily they necessarily must happen before you get married.
And
All right,
requirement.
are they requirements for marriage? Right. So those of you out there, you can text us. Let us know what you think. Does somebody need to have a job before they get married? Should it be that you should finish up all your studies before you get married? Is that a prerequisite? Should it be that you must buy a piece of land before you get married? Is it that you must build your house before you get married? What are some of the prerequisites, and what do you think? All right. I don't know if you want to answer some of these
Yeah,
questions
I mean,
as well.
I've
What
been
do you
wanting
think?
to jump in the conversation.
Sorry, go right ahead.
Yeah,
Go
okay.
ahead.
So like for me,
Yeah.
I have a personal prerequisite, right? I guess trying to wash my clothes in the public or something. So my whole thing is I need to have a certain amount. Well, God, I want to be able make sure that I'm able to sustain and like keep a family or like just provide for my family
Yes.
and the basic needs before I actually like go out there and I actually do the thing.
I
So
think
like
that's a good thing.
yeah, so it's reasonable. I want to say that your prerequisites should be like milestones that you like cross or something, or like big accomplishments or something like that. Yes, you want to study or something because you don't want the relationship to distract you, so you want to get your studies out of the way and then get the relationship in. Then I would fully understand that faster than you're saying, no, I just want to get my bachelor's degree and things so I could be able to flaunt it in somebody's face because I don't need no man. Nah, I'm not up for that.
That's a different.
Yeah, I'm not up for that. So like my whole thing is if you want to provide for your family and you're working towards that, all well and good. Power to the people. But like if you're saying that sorry, if you're saying that I need to like cross this certain milestone or I need to reach this threshold or I need to like accomplish this big goal and that will make me feel something on the inside of me and then after I feel this thing on the inside of me then I'll want to look for a spouse. Big fat zero. In my book, honestly, because it's the thing about it is that like yes you would want to accomplish a goal or something or yes you would want to like put yourself in a position where you're better off, but then there's a limit to that. So you're better off in one position, but then get to the point where the better offness, so after so it's able to support your family, get to the point where the better offness is purely so you could provide for someone else. Don't just say I'm better off and like I live my life the way I want it, so I want to live my life to the fullest, and then after I live my life to the fullest then I'll like settle down and them type of things. The devil is a liar.
All the time.
So yeah, that's my thing there.
Yes. So, so all of this conversation is to help you out there. If you're a single person, help you to think. All right, because I know of a lot of persons, or rather, I know of some persons who there are certain things that they say, I must accomplish this before I get married. I need to travel Africa, Asia, Ethiopia. Well, that's in Africa. You know, all
Just
the
all of
continents of the
Africa.
world.
All of
I'm just being a little off here. But I'm saying there are some people who have these goals. And you know, sometimes it could be a little off because you think you want to accomplish all of this before you get married. And by the time you accomplish all of that, you know, your time has passed. And when I say your time has passed, God has a timing for all of us, I believe. All right? God has a time when you're going to be born, and there's a time for you to die. There's a time, you know, on your life, and there are certain things that he wants for you at certain points in your life. But if you miss it, and this thing is more important to you, if you miss, as we learnt in was
The
church on
cloud.
Sunday, your
The cloud.
season.
cloud
This
gone
is your
away.
season to get your
The
spouse,
cloud
to
gone.
get married, your cloud. The
also
cloud is there, the manna is falling, you miss your season. Then you could just miss out on the blessings of God because you're focusing on the wrong things.
So that tells
You know?
you something. That tells you that, you know, God should be the one that leads you to know when. You know, that's like timing now if you go there. So you should be sensitive to know the right timing as to when you should accept or reject, right? Because be it a man or a woman, acceptance and rejection. It may sound kind of rejection, may sound kind of, well, say yes or no then. Let's just put it softer. So whether you say yes to or no to, right? Either party, you have to know what God is saying to you, you know, what He's telling you in this season of your life.
Yeah.
Is it the time for you to say yes to someone to share your life with? Because when we talk about choosing a spouse, we are thinking here, you're thinking the train of thought here is someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with, someone
That's
you're going to
right.
invest, you know, moments that you can never get back. And that's not something, to me, that I feel like people should take lightly and take for granted. So in terms of deciding when to go into a relationship, you shouldn't just say, okay, I like this guy. He fits 90% of the criteria. Maybe I'll give him a chance. But do you know that 10% has the potential to ruin your entire life?
Yeah, boy. Yeah,
So
yeah, you're right.
you may say, let's take that 90% chance. It's more is better than less. But sometimes depends on where the less is, the less could only appear to be less, and that less could bring a lot of stress. Yeah, let the artist come.
Hey, that rhyme, boy. Nice, just right years ago.
Yeah, let the artist come out. You see, so that to me, it's one of the most, I would say, important decision,
Oh yes.
right? Because that can make or break your life. It can make or break your testimony.
Right.
It can make or break, how people view you. Even, how God, how you and your relationship with God can be.
True.
And we speak in the persons who are Christians. But if you're not a Christian and you're thinking about choosing a spouse, I think the first thing you should ask yourself is, well, what are my prerequisite for saying yes? If you go back, like, okay, let's be real. When I was young, I was in something called a relationship. I had a couple of these things in my teenage years. Yeah, something called a relationship. And you may say, oh, that is my girlfriend or my boyfriend. People say it. Okay, so I say that my girlfriend. I love her. But who taught me to love somebody that I'm saying that I love? What yardstick are you using to, like, what really going on in my mind? In my mind.
Did you even know what love was?
Exactly.
Right?
To begin
So,
with.
That's it.
so you might say, well, yeah, all the Christians talking this, but it applies to everybody because many persons out there want to be with somebody. Some people don't feel fulfilled unless they have somebody they could call and say, babes, honey, give me morning and say, let me call me man or my woman. That's how the thing go, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying is, like, people quick to call people their own. But you know what you're owning, you never know. You need to know. You need to, you check what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You need to be wise when choosing a spouse. And don't waste, your life just because you figure you have flutters in your heart. You understand? Or you feel a certain way.
You want to feel a way.
So
That I
feeling,
belong to somebody.
should feeling be the prerequisite that we choose? Do you guys think feeling should
That's a
say,
good question.
because of based how you feel?
That's a good question.
Yeah?
Yeah, no,
Let me
sorry,
have on
like-
that one.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, it is go and sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So like one of the things that I remember hearing people say, like is that love is some kind of feeling in your chest, right? And no, honestly. So I'm like, and you just always see it on every Disney movie, follow your heart and them type of things. When the Bible tells us the heart is desperately wicked above all else, deceitfully wicked above all else. Who can know it, right? They just always tell you follow your heart. They just always tell you that love is when you watch somebody in the eye and then you get a love at first sight, them type of things, and something hits you in your chest and you fall back and like, wow, I love, yeah, like them nonsense like that. So like it's very difficult to talk to somebody and not even try to persuade them, but try to have like some sort of intellectual conversation with somebody that has that as the standard, has that as the prerequisite.
True.
Because they're like, well, it does make me feel the butterflies, one, so checklist, and it does make me feel like when I go and sleep, the only thing I just think about is him or her or them type of things. So it must be love. Cool, all right, cool. So by that definition, anybody that you have some certain feeling towards, even though you never talk to them, because we all had crushes, or let me assume that we all may have had a crush at one point in time, right? So let's just say that your crush is somebody that make you feel them butterflies. You watch them and it hits you in your chest and you fly back, some type of things, and you go sleep and you come up and you get up in the morning and all you could think about is them. Does that then mean that you are in love with your crush, or that is mutual love between you and your crush, or is that like some kind of one-sided love? And like, what type of love is that? Because you never talk to the person. Every time you see them, you just duck and go in a corner and them type of thing. You know, like, we be real. Every time you see them, it's always some kind of semantics, always some kind of drama. You know?
Messaging them when you reach home.
Yeah. Nothing so. Yeah, or you put on a spammer account, you mark out all the photos. You know? So like would you consider yourself to be in love with the crush who you never talk to, you never spend no time with, you don't even know their character, you don't even know their flaws and them type of things, you don't know the worst part about them. All you see is their public appearance, the public representation of them. Would you then say that you're in love with that person? Well, if you say yes, then God bless you and your family, because I don't know what to tell you. So that's me.
This is indeed interesting stuff, you know. Some interesting stuff here. But the questions keep coming. We talk about prerequisites, right? But we want to go a little bit deeper. We're talking about now the character of the person that you're looking at. What are some, and this is a personal question, and or rather, let it be generalized, because we want to know. Right, let's generalize it. Yes.
Share your opinion.
What kind of characteristics do you think that people should look for in a spouse? Specifically, what should we look for? I know you spoke about they love somebody who is patient and kind and everything that God says, right? But then we established that we may not necessarily find somebody with all these characteristics, because God is still working on us. But what are some of the main characteristics you think that people should look for in a spouse?
All right, Jenny, you should probably take that one.
Well, I could speak from a female
Yes.
point of view.
Okay, go ahead.
So I would say somebody who's a leader,
All right.
a protector,
Mm-hmm.
a provider,
All right.
you know, somebody who's loyal.
All right.
That's just some of the basic qualities that I would say, like, for a female looking for a spouse, a husband.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I always go back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning in Genesis 1 and 2.
Yes.
Because we know after that was the fall. So that
Yes.
was the man that was
Yes, that was
imperfect.
perfection.
Right. So, a provider in the sense that, as I mentioned earlier, Adam, God told him to work.
Oh yes, that was
Cultivate.
the first. Yes, before
Right.
he got his wife.
He was in charge of, you know, cultivating the garden, protecting the garden,
animals, yes.
and doing all of these things. So to me, he has to be a protector. He has to be a provider, able
That's
to
right,
provide.
yes.
He has to be a leader. You know, he is supposed to be able to lead his family. And I think that is one of the reasons why God created a man first.
Right.
So the man's supposed to be the foundation.
Right.
You know, so he's supposed to carry the weight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's just some of the qualities that I would say.
I want to ask a question to the guys out there, the single guys out there who are listening. Do you have these qualities? Do you see yourself as a protector?
We have one
Do you
inside
see
the
yourself
studio.
as a leader? Do you see yourself as somebody who can provide? All of these qualities that she just spoke about. And I think these qualities have some weight. All right, because as she said, she's looking back at Adam. You know, God placed him in the garden. He had to dress it. He had to take care of the garden. He had to take care of the animals. He had to, name them and give them names and all of these things. And he had to lead.
But I'd say the first question you ask him though, where are you? You know, and asking him that question in the sense that, is he a man that is God fearing? So is he in God's presence? Because that's the first place God placed Adam, in his presence. So where are you? The first question.
Oh my gosh, this is some good stuff.
Jenny does real cooker.
Yeah, boy. Some good stuff.
She's giving a female perspective. Hello, I would love to hear your perspective.
Definitely.
Okay, everything Jenny say, but the opposite. Just that. Whatever the female version of that is. No, but
This is some good stuff.
but on a reals, like
Yes.
the first thing I believe that a female should be is One, I help mate to the meal because that's the first requirement God give the lady. Say you will help the man do whatever he want to do. If he have a crazy idea and thing, you sit down with him and say, yeah, it sound good enough, but let me see if we could work this thing out practically. And if it ain't working out practically, then you're like, we should probably try something else. But you do go around calling him stupid and saying, nah, you're crazy and them ideas can never work and them type of things. They're breaking down the man's moral. Nah, boy, that's a surefire way to split a relationship up. So, one, helper. Two, submissive, because you need all alpha females and them like slave bays, you know. I'm not up on that, dog. Leave me alone with that. yeah.
The big voice ones.
Anyways, but yeah, them slave bay and them like boss woman and them like queen and them. Yeah.
Let's
fine.
have another conversation.
Yeah, bro. But yeah, that's crazy. The fact that women are taking over the male's role and the males are passive and submissive to the woman. The male are saying, yeah, female, you take the role because I don't want her to nag in my head or because I don't want the drama and I don't want the trouble. Take up the trouble, brother. That's your problem. I'm talking to that. That's it. Take up the trouble, brother. That's it. That's what you're supposed to do. That's your job. Your job is to take up the trouble. Your job is to take on the headache of leading. And leadership is not easy. Leadership is very difficult. That's why a lot of people don't like to do it. That's why we have all these followers, hardly any leaders. That's why we have all these influencers who don't even know what they're influencing people to do. You know, because they just following what's trendy. So a man saying, yeah, let's smoke a ganja, let's get high and them type of things, have a good time. Okay, influencers influencing you to do that. They don't know better. I wouldn't consider those people to leaders. I can't even talk today. I wouldn't even consider those people to be leaders. I would consider those people to be passive submitters, right? So you should, as a female, it's your job to submit to a male who's leading you in the right direction. That's why it's so good to know God for yourself, because if a man is leading you, but he's leading you away from Jesus and you're not married, run.
Far away.
Take up your cross and run,
Far
you know, honestly, because you don't want somebody who would lead you down to the path of destruction at the end of the day. So, first one, helper. Second one, submitter. Third one, who would build and encourage. I mean, that will go hand in hand with everything. I'm trying to cook like Jenny. I know how she skills.
I find it describing the Proverbs 31 woman.
Oh no! I was trying to do to the smarts.
But I must drop. I like the fact how you were able to say it from a man's perspective. The female is looking for a man like this, but also a man is looking for a woman like this.
Is that?
Well, we will hope that is the case. That,
fingers
that
crossed.
a man is looking for a woman like this.
Yes.
Because while there may not be anybody, out there who might be perfect, but God is, and as Elo said, if God is leading the man and God is, leading the woman, right? And both from the inception of conversation, before we even thought about relationship, we are submissive to God's will, then you understand, you have less issues. Think about what I'm saying a little bit deeper. Man and woman are submissive to the will of God. That's what the Bible calls unequally yoked, when it's the opposite. If one is and the other is not. So you're choosing a spouse. Choose someone who shares the same value, someone who sees things God's way like you see it, someone who's willing to find out the truth on matters that they may not understand. For example, a man could be struggling, or a woman could be struggling with a particular sin. And that sin could be a sin that they have been struggling with from since the time that they were unsaved. But they say you go into a relationship, you're in a relationship with somebody now, and to you have not bounced upon where the Bible said it's a sin as yet. So to you, it seems as though it's not. But the person you're with sees it and understands it to be a sin, but your eyes are still close to it. You understand? How do you deal with that type of situation? That's an impromptu question. I think I want to throw that. Do you pack up the towel and run and say, I give up now? This dude, he unequally yoke in that spot. And I ain't want to hear nothing about, because you won't find a perfect person.
That's
so what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Let me hear you guys.
That's a really good question.
But that's somebody that's a Christian,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so man or
Good
woman,
follow-up.
they
And they're
don't.
struggling.
Yeah,
with
both
that
of them
sin.
are, both of them have
Sin.
committed their life to
And they
God.
don't see it as a
But
sin.
but
The
one
person.
sees it as a sin, one see that particular issue as a sin, right? But one feel like nah, I ain't bounce up on what the Bible tell me. I ain't
Let's say
convinced.
I'm
I
doing like
ain't
some
sure.
white lies, and
Yeah.
to me, I just a
Whatever
joke,
it
and
is,
you know.
yeah. So how
But
do
to
you?
you know and you understand it's sin, but to that person,
You can
that
personalize
they
that.
really
You can
see.
personalize that. You
Yeah.
can personalize
So
that.
is it in a sense that it's like a couple and
Well,
they've
no, they're not married yet.
They're not married,
just
but they're in a
dating.
they're
Probably
dating
in a
at the
courting
dating
or
stage.
something. Yeah.
Coaching is
Yeah,
wild.
we have some questions on the
Still say that.
WhatsApp or some comments. We'll take them at some point in time. Guys, keep sending them in, alright?
Well, I would say first of all, when you come to that, because you said they accepted Christ, right? So, Elo mentioned it earlier in terms of having your own personal relationship with Christ, right? And it's important to find your identity in Christ. So then you know your value and then you would have standards, right? So even if you and somebody is dating, you would not compromise or drop your standards because, you know, this person wants this or want that. And even as you mentioned, I might be straying a little bit, but being like equally yoked because sometimes, like, even as Christians, you hear a lot of like young Christians, especially that are single, saying, you know, well, there's no single men or ladies in the church, right? And then they would, you know, it's like they want to go out there
Right.
because they think that, you know, well, maybe I could find a man outside there and God could change him. But, you know, it's like the same faith that you have that God could take somebody out there and change them. You could have the same faith that there is someone there for
Oh,
you,
yes.
right?
Oh, God.
And
We can get some good things there.
another thing is in regards to that, you thinking, well, you know, maybe I could change him because, you know, I go into church and I pray and this and that. Trust me, that man will change you. He will change you. So you have
Or
to,
she will change
or
you.
she will change you,
Yeah.
right? So you have to know your identity in Christ and know what you want, because when God call you, then you know you spend time in the Word, you spend time in prayer, so you know this is what is required of me. And you know, if the person is probably, you would maybe may not be on the same level, but you tell them, you know, I think we should slow down on this because such reason, but they haven't bounced it up as yet. But you know, you kind of guide them, and if you realize, well, the person on her, because some persons, whether male or female, they are in heat, not in purpose. Right? So
Wild.
I like the fact. I like the purpose thing.
Wanted to jump in here, but go through.
Yeah. The purpose is very important. Why are you in this relationship in the first place? And I'll leave it there right there. It'll go jump in there. So
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Yeah, because, first of all, amazing. No, yo, write that in our book somewhere, boy, because that need to be heard. So, like, my perspective would be echo everything that Jenny said, but just, like, provide, like, a slight twisted. So, let's say that somebody is in the faith 3-4 years. They're still relatively young when it comes to it, because I heard somebody say this, right? So, let's say, you just get saved at 20 years old, right, and you live out 1 year as a saved person. You're not actually 20, you're not actually like 20 in the faith. In the eyes of God, in the perspective of God,
You're just a-
you're just a 1 year old baby.
Yeah, baby.
So let's say somebody 10 years in the faith, they're probably still like a 10-year child. They still need time to mature, they still need time to grow. Even though some people grow a lot faster than others. I'm not saying that because Paul took like 3 years, and then Paul was like, yeah, brother, we ready for this thing. Let me start to teach, let me start to become apostles, you know? So like a lot of people have their different growth rate or their growth spurs, but let's just give it an average time. Let's say the longer you spend in the faith is the more you grow, is the more you mature, right? So somebody who's 3 years in the faith, we could consider that to be a 3-year-old child. There's a lot of things 3-year-old children don't know. And there's a lot of things you're telling them, hey, this is wrong in it. But it's until they actually experience it for themselves, that's when they have some kind of shift, or that's when they have some kind of realization. So like you tell
Don't
a child,
touch the pot.
yeah, don't go and touch
It's
the pot.
hot.
But they're like,
You're touching it still.
oh, but I just want to see what heat is. Like, don't tell me hot. I want to know what hot is. So you put your hand on it, you realize hot doesn't make it cry. So you're like, okay, hot is equivalent to cry, and I don't like to cry. So I go stop touching it. Yeah, you know, them type of things. It's until you experience the pain, that's when you'll jump away from the thing that's causing you the pain. Well, some people, other people just they're broken. They're
Like the
really
immune system.
yeah, like, dog, they're numb. They just can't help but have the pain. It's real sad. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. If that's you, Jesus could fix you. Jesus could heal you. Honestly, I believe that. But yeah, going back to what we're saying. So let's say that somebody is like 3 years in the faith, right? They just come to, well, relatively a newcomer to Jesus, and you're a bit more experienced in the faith than them, or maybe you had a growth spur like Paul because you spend the time at Mount Sinai, because you cry out day and night before God, and God actually comes through for you like that and give you that instant revelation. So you're a bit more mature than that person. You're telling that person, hey, there's a lot of things that's inside of the Bible that we can be doing, like going back to Sabi's original prompt. The thing that you see as sin, that new person who is like 3 years in the faith, they don't see it as sin. They see it as, well, other people doing it, so I don't understand why I can't do it too. You're not really hurting anybody. You're not really like self-destructive, and like I could control it, I could calm it. You know, them type of things. Eh?
Right.
So you're trying to convince somebody who is younger, less mature than you, that the thing that they're doing eventually could cause them to stumble, even though it's not at the moment currently causing them to stumble. It's a very difficult battle, but that's where, and I believe that this is true for all relationships, that's where you have to now tell that person, okay, now let's go and cry out before God, and let's see what God has to say. Let's see what verdict God comes up with. So you go before God on behalf of that person go, I can't talk, on behalf of that person goes before God on behalf of themselves, and then at the end of the day, if y'all spend some time before God together, spend some time before God as individuals, and you come back and a person still wants to hold on to that thing because that's where they find their identity, pick up your bed and run. Dog, DJ Nicholas say, cut it off.
Pick up your bed and run. Yeah, but I agree. Because you know the issue there is that a lot of people will, just they will see things, red flags, but like that, commonly said, red flags, and they will just ignore them.
They will colorblind.
Well, yeah, that's the worst part. And if you are colorblind and the flag is red and you're seeing white or green probably, then that's a problem. Because then you're not seeing right.
Yeah, jokes too.
Then there's the deeper side where, some people are good at pretending, but
True.
they know how to put up a show to make you feel they're the perfect individual for you.
You're right.
But I think what normally causes that when people are choosing sports is when you rush the brush.
Yes.
You're moving too quick.
Too fast.
You want to move too fast. So you know what? You never allow that individual to get authentic around you.
True.
By the time they start being their authentic self, you're already deep inside with a ring on your finger.
Yes.
And now
That's sad.
it's like, who are you? Where? Who? I don't know that person. Yeah, that's right. Because you never took the time. You didn't go through the relevant channels. And I would say it like that because, sometimes when persons are choosing a lifetime partner, marriage, right? They may sometimes make that choice with no real guidance,
Yes.
no counsel, just how I feel in my heart, how you look, and I think if you made that choice as an individual and you're married, nothing wrong with that at this point. You're done married already. So it's just that you have to go and do what you did not do at the time.
Prior.
You understand?
Right.
And that takes some humbling because some people pretend for so long, that when reality kicking in now, even they themselves don't want to face it. So that's what we say. I mean, is there a perfect man? No. But listen,
Only Christ himself.
Bible stated that
Yeah.
the man and his wife, they were naked and they were unashamed. They were both naked, unashamed
That
in the
speaks
garden.
of vulnerability too.
There you go.
That's
And
it.
as you were speaking about that as well, is it that sometimes too persons rush into marriage because it's like in a sense they're forced, probably because of the the church they attend and these things. So, you know, it's like you all start dating, you know, and they realize, well, you know, these two saw something going. So, you know, it's like they kind of force you to get married. So y'all didn't even get to cross that friendship stage where you get to know each other. And, you know, and some persons is like, they just want to get married because, you know, probably your friends getting married and you see everybody else around there. And, you know, it's like, so, and that's why a lot of persons focus on the wedding but not the marriage, because the wedding is one day and, you know, everybody come, they eat, they drink, they jolly, but after that, the marriage is between just the two of you. And, you know, as Dr. Miles Monroe said, if when the purpose of something is not, when you do not understand it, then abuse is inevitable, you know, because, so then, you know, as I say, you know, so you see your friend getting married, you see your sister, your cousin, and sometimes, you know, it's like that person younger than you, so, you know, I find I want to get married too, and there's this saying that says, you know, loose goat doesn't know how tight goat feels, you know.
No, that's wild.
So, you know, you want to be in it, and then, you know, it's like, because it's rush, you're 30 years and you don't married yet, you don't have a husband yet, you know, so you feel like you need to rush, and then you do not cross the friendship stage to actually getting to know that person in depth. So then when you actually being your authentic self, then it's an issue, you know?
Right.
So, I just wanted to share.
Does not know how tight goat feels.
Bring that on a shirt.
This is some deep stuff here. This is some deep stuff here. You know, these questions, I'm hoping that those of you listening out there, it's awakening something in you so that you could understand the importance of your choice and your choosing, right? That you don't rush into things. I'm hoping that our conversation is helping you a little bit, right? I want to ask another question. So all of this is conversation. We have some comments or we want to look at or a little further in?
Trevor is saying here, solid conversation. A one-off event or continue?
That's a good question.
Well, the Lord will have to lead. We don't know.
That's a question.
We'll see how the Lord leads. We'll see how the Lord leads.
We have another question. We have some comments.
All right, so let's take some comments at this time.
Try to find them.
So we'll just take some comments at this time, and then we'll go back to the conversation because I want to. This is some really good stuff that we're sharing here, and you know, sometimes you don't. When you have the different perspectives, you know, we're married already, right? We may look at things from a different angle from the single people, but you all are sharing some really interesting stuff there. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of people are feeling pressured. A lot of single people are feeling pressured. Look, my friend just get married. Look, I'm the last person. I'm the last daughter. I ain't get married yet. I'm the last son. I don't get married.
And I'm that way.
You know,
and then people asking you again.
And then, oh gosh, when I get to eat piece of
cake,
when I get to eat piece of cake, my husband like to ask people.
I just tell people that too.
Wait, you see that, Sammy?
Yeah, I had to apologize. The other day I had to apologize to I had to apologize to a friend, and I said to her, you know, forgive me for asking you that question. It's not a good question to ask you.
People feel
you know,
pressured.
it is a question that is kind of like, I'm not sure what you're going through, what's in your mind. Maybe you might be having a hard time because, again, you might be thinking, you know, your friends are shining and you're not.
Yes.
And it's kind of an insensitive question to come and ask persons when I get in a piece of cake. I rebuke myself for that.
Yes, because sometimes it make you feel like if maybe you're insufficient or maybe you're not enough, like nobody not finding
that
you,
could actually,
or you can't find somebody.
It could actually bring back a lot of memories to a lot of persons because sometimes it's like somebody that was really close and you know they had a bad breakup or something like that, and then you know you asking him, well, you find it's time you get married, you know, and so and then it's like you're going to dig up that story again, and you know, like when a lot of persons come out in bad breakups, you know, you're broken hearted, and there is no pill that you can take to heal a broken heart. But then the scripture said that, you know, God heals the brokenhearted, you know, so it's only Him that can actually heal that. You can't take no Panadol, no Fentic, nothing to heal that broken heart. So, you know, it's like you going and ask the person, oh, girl, you find it's time you get married, you know, and you're just going to stir up that thing there again.
And
So
that's how some people just jump into marriage, because I'm being pressured. So the first person that come and say, "Hey, you look good," or "Hey, I find you my husband."
But let's
And
talk
you
about
just,
that
you
part.
just jump into
Before
it.
they comment, stick a pin right there, and I want us to talk about that because what you just mentioned is the vulnerabilities that people have in themselves, the insecurities that they carry in their minds about themselves,
Yes.
and that insecurity maybe it stems from how you grew up, what has been said to you, maybe how not just what you see and
Maybe
what
your
friends
past
say, but
relationships.
maybe even your past relationships. Yeah, so sometimes people, you've been told that you're nothing for so long that when someone comes along and tell you something, they win your heart, they win your money,
They
they win
become
your
your everything.
they win your everything, and you go into it blindly
Yes.
because of that hurt that you have now. Is like a plaster, it's like some stitches or bandage over it that feels like healing in this area of your life. But is it enough? Is it enough to say, yes, I want to be in that relationship with you? Stick up in there, take the comments real quick. Watch Hello the Fellow. That's what somebody said. Check in the comments. You understand? But the first thing, somebody in love with Jesus and they are daily seeking, chasing after him. Alright? So next comment here from Bonnell. She say, for men, respect is very important.
Oh yes.
Alright, Karen says, when I asked God for my husband, I told him to send me someone who loves him and loves me for me. I got exactly that. He is a leader, provider, protector. He has my best interest at heart, and I have his. We are best friends.
Yeah, snaps,
So
wife.
Brunel
Yeah,
had
snaps.
a nice comment. She said, unequally yoke could happen in the church too.
Oh yes. Oh
Yeah,
yes. Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So she said, if it makes you feel uncomfortable and cannot be worked on, then it's better to go separate ways. That's like what question we were asking, like, if you can work on it. But you see, sometimes my thing is don't ignore things into marriage. That you think, if you can't deal with it when you're single, don't think. I mean, unless God is speaking to you in some way, because that's why you shouldn't listen to every and anybody's voice. Because sometimes they think that seems like the worst thing may turn out to be the greatest testimony. But you have to be seeking God and really asking God, fasting, praying, like really wanting to hear and get confirmation from God before you say yes to even the problem that you might want to accept. And God may well use it to fix. Nobody knows. When everybody else saying run, God is saying, this is my will for you. We don't like challenges. You understand? So we want it to be perfect. We're looking for a perfect man. Remember, they the perfect husband, the perfect marriage. Yeah, right. Let's go. Jenny, then people say they like you. And Dawson is saying thanks to his wife. What I got here. So I think that's about it. Somebody said, you are right, sis. That man or woman, they didn't put woman, but adding that may change you. All right? You should have ambition and vision, and that's it on Facebook, YouTube.
Yes.
We bubbling. Let's go.
All right. So this conversation is important. We know that the single people out there, and I'm hoping that we have a lot of singles listening, they're benefiting from this conversation because we want you to learn and not to make the same mistakes that some have made before you. There are people who have gotten married, as my husband mentioned, and they feel like they're in a jail, a trap, because they made the decision too quick. All right, they made the decision not looking at things holistically, not understanding a lot of things. All right, so here's another question for you. We're talking about people, so we said that for Adam and Eve, they were naked and unashamed, right? At what point do you think, if you have a couple that's dating, at what point do you think that they should become more or less open about, maybe their past or, their life or who they really are? At what point do you think that, a couple that's dating or a couple that is basically thinking about marriage, what point do you think that they should be totally open and vulnerable?
Go ahead, Jenny. That's okay, guys. Just bear with us. We're just fixing something real quick here. So Jenny, you could go ahead.
At what point should they be open and vulnerable?
Yes.
During the dating stage.
You're in the dating stage. When I say dating, well, dating, at which point in dating or courting, or at which point do you think that they should be totally open and vulnerable?
Well, I would say like when you're dating, it's like a time to actually get to know somebody, right? But even if you're dating, it does not mean that it would end in marriage, right?
True.
But I would say if you're dating and yes, you actually getting to know each other, and then you see, the certain qualities that you are looking for, certain qualities that you may be looking for as a man or as a woman, and you realize, well, that person, they have it. I think at that point you should be open with the person.
Right.
So you tell them whatever it is, that put everything on the table. So then they decide if they want to go ahead with, the point of reaching to marriage,
I like that.
or they want to call it quit then.
All
Because
right.
sometimes, persons wait too late to be
Uh-huh.
vulnerable. So then, like I said, they go to the point that, they actually go
Point of
and
no
get
return.
married.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're already too far in at that point. And, that could lead to, persons being in marriage and unhappy,
Right.
feeling lonely and all this. And the
Yes.
worst thing that could happen, the worst thing that, could happen to somebody that you're not, apart from being single and lonely, is to be married and feeling lonely. Or married and feeling
And
unhappy.
that's something that's real. Yeah.
And it happens to a lot of persons,
yes.
so I would say once you realize that you want to pursue that person in terms of marriage,
Yes.
you lay everything out on the table.
I like that. Where you find Elo? At which point should somebody be vulnerable in a relationship? Let people know about maybe your past, if you have any secrets or things you wouldn't tell any and anybody.
Yeah, thanks for repeating the question, because I was going to say my answer was everything Jenny said.
As if for me to answer.
Yeah, you understand? But yeah, I honestly believe that you should do that as soon as possible, because you don't want to come off as a creep, or come off as you're coming on too strong or something. But the more you prolong the quote unquote secrets or those type of things, is the more difficult you will make that person's job if y'all do decide to pursue the thing further, and there's skeletons in the closet, or there's issues that's going to come up. Maybe that might be issues that your spouse could help you with. Maybe it's something that you have to go and get deliverance from. Maybe it's something that you have to go and get healed from before you're able to move into that relationship. And you're doing your spouse a big disservice by hiding those things from them, or at least your potential spouse, because that's not you get married yet. You're doing them a really big disservice by keeping those things to yourself. So yes, there are lots of things that's heavy, that's difficult to talk about, that's like might not be the thing that you have overcome, so it's probably something that you're still struggling with. And I believe in those moments when you know that you're still inside of something, or there's things in your life that you have not potentially overcome, you should see that as a warning, or you should see that as a sign that I need to go and get some help in this area. Or I need to go and get deliverance. I need to do some growing in this area before I could give that person all of me. Or you wanting somebody to accept you, you can't expect them to like, I don't want to like say too much things like, or like become too detailed, but at the same time, like I ain't trying to like downplay it as some kind of regular, I bunked my toe when I was 3 years old or some kind of things, and I still have a scar on my foot. Like, I don't want to downplay it like that, but like, you know that there are bigger issues in your life. You know that there are issues that could potentially, for lack of a better term, potentially mash up the relationship, right? Potentially cause a relationship to crash if that's discovered, and if it's something that you have not completely dealt with. Go ahead, let that person know. Let that person know, hey, this is the case. Do you still want to continue this relationship? And if this person say, yo, true thick and thin in it, then Sonia.
But then I just like to say something though, but
Go ahead.
that also has a lot to play in when I mentioned about actually embracing your singleness,
Right.
because at that stage, right, there are a lot of things that persons has to deal with,
Yes.
and when they don't deal with it, then you feel like, because it's easy to bond with somebody, just by having a conversation with somebody, you can create a bond, and you realize, well, no, it's like, I like that guy,
Right.
and because now you think that there are certain things that you have not dealt with, and if you probably put it out on the table, then he go say you don't want to continue with the relationship, and then so you keep it a secret, and then now when you do that, then you go into a relationship, probably even to the point of marriage, and then you go in looking for that person to fulfill you. You understand? So it's like, why you have to go out with your friends? Why you can't stay home? It's like every time, because it's like once that person is not around, you do not feel fulfilled. So if you're not happy as a single, you would not be happy in a relationship or in a marriage, right? And then it's like you coming in and you half full, I come in and half full, because you're supposed to be whole before you go into a relationship, more or less, right? So I come in half, you are probably you full, and I come in half, and it's like you always have to be pouring into me, then I drain you, right? We're both supposed to be coming full, so then when we pour into each other, it's an overflow,
That's right.
more or less. So it's like actually being single and embracing your singleness is very important before you could actually think about going further and marriage and all of these things. You understand? And a lot of people skip that stage. So it's like a single, and I think I'm ready for a boyfriend, I'm ready for a girlfriend. And you don't even take time you don't even heal, because it depends on what, like they say, if you don't heal, then you bleed on somebody who doesn't cut you. Right?
Oh, that's
So
cool.
you're
That's
going
really
with all
cool.
of that in a relationship that you're not prepared for it, you're not ready for it. But then I come in now, I did not heal, I did not spend time to actually, fix certain things about me, because sometimes we come out from previous relationships too, and the person was not always the problem. We have things that we have to fix as well. But
That's right.
instead of fixing that, we think that I'm ready for the next one. And then when I come in now, I come and I'm bleeding on you, but you were not the one that actually cut me in the first place. So take time to heal and embrace your singleness, so that it's easy for you to be open to persons. Yeah, when you're in like the dating stage, it's easy for you to be vulnerable, and when you do not embrace your singleness, you could have a lot of insecurities, and because of these insecurities, then I won't tell him that yet. I will leave that there still. And then after, no, it creates a problem, and probably divorce and all of these things comes up. So
Let me chime in there now.
Jen said so
Let
much
me
there.
chime in there now.
Go ahead, bro.
Watch this.
I think we all want to chime in. Go ahead.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
what's worse? And I want you to think. You're not vulnerable prior to. But then, what's harder? For you to be vulnerable after? You're already gonna commit. You don't want to be vulnerable at that time because you feel like you have too much to lose. And that's a reality, right? But the next thing is that when Jenny said about the bleeding, my mind just gone to like, what that bleeding looks like in a literal format, literal form. So, you're bleeding, blood is coming out of your skin. And sometimes that bleed could be silence. That bleed you're talking about, that could be silence for the immaturity. That bleed could be secrecy coming out and you still lies trying to protect it. You understand? Or that bleed can be what, Linnell? What can you think? You're bleeding.
Yeah, bleed could
That-
be open and oh, sorry, go ahead. 'Cause
No, that's
my name
okay.
is not Linnell.
That bleed could be so many things, and my head is going all different ways right now because I'm thinking that Jen, I find Jen ready for marriage. I listening to Jen. Listen, I'm not Jen, right? But I listening to Jen, and she has so much deep things to share there because it is so important to be able to understand who you are when you are single
Yeah.
and be able to deal with these situations. As my husband said, this becomes more difficult when you are married, when you carry in this past baggage, this hurt, this pain. Is not just yourself now that you're hurting somebody else. Somebody else has to now become possibly a nurse for you. You're trying for this person to become the nurse, when Christ himself should be the one, the physician taking care of you. If you do not deal with these things in your singleness, you carry it into marriage, and that's where a lot of marriages have a lot of problems, which should not be. All right, I'm not saying that there is any marriage that's going to be perfect and you don't have problems, but a lot of the problems that we have in marriage can be avoided if we simply deal with things when we are single. Deal with it. Understand who you are. If you are going through pain, if there's some unforgiveness there, you have not forgiven mommy, you have not forgiven daddy, you have not forgiven somebody in a past relationship, don't carry that into marriage. The fact of the matter might be you carrying unforgiveness there. You may not be able to forgive your husband. You may not be able to forgive your wife. There's some deeper things in there that need to be dealt with that will cause complications for you in your marriage. Deal with the things right now while you are still single.
Yeah, that's true. I want to jump. I really want to
Go ahead.
So,
Sorry.
so two things. One, I don't want everybody to get confused when Jenny is talking about embracing your singleness. It doesn't necessarily mean you're independent, you don't need nobody in your life or type of things, right? Because I heard a lot of movies. I saw a movie the other day and I just had to turn it off because I was like, that's where all you're going. I think I was 10 minutes into the movie. 10 minutes into the movie I turned it off. I was like, stripping this, and 5 minutes was the credits. So so I didn't really watch a movie. But yeah, so if you're thinking to yourself, I should embrace my singleness in terms of me not needing nobody, me being independent, I'm my own boss, and I don't need a man and them type of things. See, you missed the mark. You completely missed what Jenny and what everybody else was saying. But if you're looking at it like, I don't need anybody to complete me or to make me whole other than Jesus Christ, then I believe that you're on the right page. You understand the concept of what embracing your singleness should be. You should learn to understand who you are, or you should learn to be content with not being lonely, but being not being alone, but not being lonely, but being alone for a period, right? Because everybody, Jesus had to leave his disciples. He had to go on a mountain, pray for 40 days. He had to take time to be by himself or to be alone, go through that period. In your solitude, you grow. In your solitude, you develop. Paul did the same thing again. This man went away for 3 years. We don't know when the man disappeared to, except he went to Mount Sinai. The man went. But yeah, he isolated himself from people because he realized that he needs to grow in a lot of areas before he was able to come back and reintegrate himself with the people around him. And before he was able to make an impact on people. So you definitely need to understand, this is who I need to be, or this is who God has created me to be, in order to fully embrace the singleness, or before you're actually ready to get into that relationship. Second thing, and I think if we're going back to the whole bleeding analogy thing, because it's amazing, a real amazing analogy, right? So what Sabi was saying, if I could just jump off of it for a bit. So when you bleed, the wounds that you see, sometimes you cover them up by your clothes, sometimes you cover them up by your skin, sometimes they're in a place where nobody would think to look. People wouldn't be able to actually see. But there are other wounds that's on your face, on your hands, on your right by your foot, and it's open, it's visible. A lot of people can see it. So when you're bleeding, there are certain times people, their wounds are covered up by a lot of the things, and then you don't see the wounds come through them, and you're like, oh, that person's okay, that person doesn't need help, and them things. But the minute time that person take out their shot, you realize, no, something's not right. Why? How is it that you got this? How is it that you're not treating this thing? If you don't treat wounds get infected, right? I ain't trying to steal your thunder, but if you don't treat wounds, eventually they're going to become something that could kill you, or they could be a disease like leprosy that could transfer over to somebody else and kill them in return. So you don't want your wounds to become something that poisons you, kills you, or kills somebody else. You want your wounds to be something that's completely sanitized, completely isolated, and completely disinfected before you're able to reintegrate with that person or before you're able to join yourself with somebody else. So that's just my thing.
Let me add
Yeah,
something there.
wholeness.
Good stuff.
Real quick. So, for me, I feel like the way how, because we could talk about the wounds and thing, and for real, like when it's left untreated, it gets infected. And think about somebody, who probably feeling that pain, but sometimes they're not sure, how to really address it now. And that pain can be anything, you know. I can think about let me not put no scenarios on the table, but let me just say the pain can be anything. The cut there that needs attention, it needs the person who's feeling it attention, because you could fail to address it and it only gets worse. You could try to cover it up and hide it, but guess what? Somehow it's what you feel below there under that cover where you put, if you can clean it out nicely and make sure you can heal properly, yeah, even though it leaves a scar, but the scar is going to remind you that God is good. And every time you look at the sky, you know God was able to heal it because you allow Him to do that.
That's a song,
but,
bro.
but when you think about it now, people who have wounds or what we call traumatic, they gone through some trauma. You're not supposed to. I would say, please don't jump in relationship. As you say, embrace your singleness. Work on that. There are things you can do. There are books you can read. There are things you could, invest your time in and read or listen to. Just things you can do. Find a counselor, yeah. And one of the things me and my wife we came to learn, about this whole marriage thing as we delve deeper into it in the last couple of years of our lives, is that there is something called premarital preparation. So you see, like all that we're talking about there tonight, you have a couple who is intended to be in a relationship. They want to be married. So they would go together to these sessions and they would have a professional in a professional environment, you understand? A godly environment, a godly counselor who now would help you to find those hidden wounds that you are. Sometimes some people cover it for so long they're not sure it's there. But when you go and you get someone who has the knowledge, yeah. But most people in our community don't like to put ourselves in that position. We don't. Nope. When I open up to who? No. God is going to help me. God is going to help me with this. But what are you doing really? What are you really doing? Because sometimes you don't have what it takes to move. Yeah, because you need new information. You need an upgrade in that server, in that software. Hello, you need something, something to kind of help you to understand what you're really going through. Because when you yourself don't understand what you're going through, you don't even know how to function, and you're confusing.
You don't know how to deal with
You will
it.
confuse the person that you're actually with. So what we're saying here tonight, man, choosing a spouse is no easy task. It's beyond your feelings. One man said, I think it was Miles, he said what? Love don't keep a relationship.
Wow.
Say love don't keep a marriage. Let me put it like that. Love is good, but love don't keep the marriage. You see, when we talk about being naked and unashamed, that is a good place to start. Because that nakedness we're talking about will show the individual you're with that, hey, listen, I have a wound there. This happened, or I did this, and I don't want you to find out later. I want you to know now. Right? Choose me. If you're choosing me, choose me just as I am. Yeah? At least you know what you're doing. So you're not going to see nothing new. And please, don't hide like me at one point in my life. I hide and I pretend very well. You understand? Until you get me in a position where I'm like, Sabi, man, you're selfish too much. You have to stop this stupidness. Yeah? My love in my face. She telling me, let's go and get counsel. The man, ego in me is saying, no, talk to who? Me not trust none of them there. But what I'm saying is this, right? And I'm real. And I want to be real. I'm real because we want this to help somebody.
Yes.
We want to see more successful marriages in Grenada. This thing in the church where you're seeing all this divorce, this thing had to stop.
Yes.
You understand? But here's what. If you don't get it right from the inception, you're going to keep getting it wrong continually. So what we're saying is that get it right.
Build
And
a
run if you
solid
have to run while the
foundation.
only and don't try to run later. Run now if you have to run. Run when you have no ring and no commitment. When you have no children, no mortgage, no car, no house that join on people's name. Run then so that you don't get yourself in a mess. You see me? Yeah, my boy.
I just want to stick a pin there and go back to what Miles said. I'm too agree to the fullest to what he said because I'm not that I want to create an argument here, but what I believe in is God's love, that agape love.
So there's a different kind of love.
Yes, that's the kind of love that could really keep a marriage because that
Yeah.
love is unselfish.
Unconditional love.
That love is unconditional.
Oh,
That's
Yes.
God's
true.
love.
But that
That
love
kind
never
of
from
fails.
two individuals.
That's
so you
right.
never say God's love don't keep a relationship. You say love don't and you know love has
right,
it's four different
right. That's
aspects, right?
romantic kind of love.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Because that's what he was basically saying. It's
Yeah.
what people going into
And how you
marriages they
feel, the
You
feelings and all of
understand?
that.
So
That
if you
kind-
feel to love me today or you love me as they say when I do this, you love me when I do that, then you will not love me when I do this and when I don't do that. And you know that unconditional love can really soften the heart of another individual.
True.
When the person deserves licks, you show them love. Let me give her a case
That's
in
God's
point
kinda love.
and allow me to be vulnerable here. When about 3 days ago, and I said this to my wife, I'm trying to teach my son something, and he don't seem to be getting it, right? And I'm trying and I'm talking, he don't seem to be getting it. So he did something, and I got upset. My wife was not there, and as I said, the first thing your hand grab, you want to correct with it because that's how you were taught. Now I have new knowledge and I'm battling most time with this old way of correcting and in the things that I know how you should rightfully correct. Every time you want to grab the rod, let me not say the rod, the broomstick, the wire, whatever your hand falls upon.
Whatever your hand
You understand? It's like automatic. But my reaction was different. It started that way, but it didn't end that way. And then it's like God was speaking to me in this situation. It's like, instead of beating the boy with what my hand fell upon, I dropped it and laid my hands on his head and prayed for him. And then I cried and I hugged him and I told him that I love him. Right? Because you know what? And I said, I want the best for you. Because he, as a little boy, the Bible says, foolishness is born up in the heart of a child.
But a rod of
right?
correction.
A rod of correction could be different things. Right? So, I believe I became very vulnerable with my son. And I cried and I said, bro, son, you're breaking my heart. But then, next 2 days, I'm seeing a difference. And that was, what I'm saying here is that the love, love is able to do more. And when sometimes we show that love, we can win people. So you might be in a relationship, and the love, and that's the kind of love you're looking for.
That's right.
So it's not talk love,
Action.
it's action love. So you want to choose a spouse, see if that person is only seeking out their interests more than that of your relationship, or two of your interests. You understand? From time to time I get a little licks and my wife feel like I ain't doing things the way I'm supposed to do it. But that's okay. I correct me wrong today. She was like, what? That's true? I can't tell how they are what exactly she was on. See the face? I mean, yeah, so you have to show. You may not always get it right. Yeah? And that's the thing. You have to see how willing the person is to show that they actually want to seek out your interest too. You know what I mean?
Can we take some more comments before I go
Comments
on?
right there.
I have
Wow.
one other question that I want to...
Wow, hand grabbing slippers. Perfect example of marriage is God and the church. I think that's what Trevor is saying here. Christ and the church.
Yes.
Let's go in comments here. Let's see. Powerful. It's important to heal and embrace your singleness. That's correct. Many people are married and lonely. That's why they go outside of the marriage searching. Another comment here. In my opinion, it have a lot of people like Jenny out there, but not many men you will find in God's presence. So, Bonella, I'm reading your comments the way I want them to understand it, right? People have to stop listening to music or watching movies that determine the life they want to live. All right? To determine the life they want to live. A lot of episodes are missing. Life is not one size fit all. People have their own agendas. I see more. lock in with God and let Him guide you. Through Elo, your wounds can kill your relationship, and even dampen your partner, dampens your partner's relationship with God. Yeah. So my brother Roger is saying the reality is, if both husband and wife do not have Jesus as part of their lives, it's only a matter of time before your marriage fail. It's only a matter of time. Marriage is a covenant made with God. There are three parties in the covenant: God, husband, and wife. What do you have when one party is absent? We can go to marriage conversation, but that's a good question.
That's an
on the
excellent
table
question.
right there.
What
Take
do
the
you
last
have?
one here, then. Look how look how He is working in us to perfect us, cleansing, renewing our minds, and forgiving. Yeah, that's Trevor right there.
All
So,
right. This is a really interesting conversation, I must say. And again, if you are out there and you're a single person, or you know a single person that should be listening on this conversation, give them a little poke. Call them up, tell them, listen, good conversation.
I think they'll take it out.
Wait, the poke was on Messenger,
yeah.
something like
Give
that.
a poke. Give them a poke.
Yes. Now, here's another question, because some persons may be facing this very thing. Should your parents, or maybe let me just put it a little wider, should your family be involved in the choosing process? All right, why or why not? Should your family, and when I say family, I mean it could be mommy, daddy, uncle, auntie, whoever you deem family. Well, family is really your immediate, and then you have relatives. So should family or relatives be involved in the choosing process?
Question, that's for Elo and for Jenny to chew on.
Yeah, all right.
Let's sit back. The interesting will be interesting. Make it interesting response.
My interest in response is Bible and a bro. Careful with our food. So the Bible say he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing. The Bible never say he who parents find a wife for him finds a good thing, type of thing. See, so it goes back to the individual. It goes back to them and their ability to discern who would be a right fit for them, because they know what they're looking for. Right? My mother tell me at a point in time, and I was like, Mom, that can never be true. But no, it started to make sense in my head. Anyways, I will tell you what she see. So my mother say the majority of men in this world, let us find a wife that does resemble their mother, or that is in like countenance, similar to their mother. Yeah. And I was like, no way that could be true. How I could be in a relationship with my mother? Anyways, when I was younger, I kind of stupid. But anyways, so but long story short, I find that there is some truth to that, because like most of the times when like looking at potential peoples, I'm looking that sounds so dumb saying it out loud. That sounds so dumb. But yeah, most of the times I'm looking at potential peoples. I'm just looking at qualities that I've already seen existent in my parents, seen in my mom, seen in my dad, because I've been allowed to vent whatever they were doing. I've been allowed to vent their personalities, and I've had the opportunity of observing how they work, how they behave, what works and what didn't work for them, like for 20 plus years of my life. So I already have an idea of these combinations could work, these combinations can't work. And if you're a wise person, then I believe that you will do the same thing too, right? But at the same time, like, I definitely believe in allowing your parents to vent somebody that you bring to, say, yes, you decide, that person, she look like she have potential, so you bring her in front of your parents and them type of things. Say, Mom, what do you think? Pops, what do you think? And let her give you their honest opinion. They're like, nah, she look like she go in her earrings too and she buy all the earrings. So I don't know, like, she just say yes to everything. I don't know about it, or like they would nitpick certain things, and you have to decide for yourself if those nitpicky things are purely just physical, or those things potentially things that could destroy a relationship. So I heard this phrase going around: love is blind, right? Love has no eyes or whatever. So like you would always be in front of a person, but you can't directly see all the person's bad traits, the bad qualities, which I have a different perspective on that. But for the sake of this conversation, let's just assume that love is blind. Right? Let's just assume that you're in front of somebody and there's qualities and characteristics about that person that you can't necessarily see because you're so infatuated with them.
True.
Or sometimes you see it but you choose to let it slide.
Right.
If your parents see that that's a problem, or the people around you see that could potentially be a problem, don't do like me, brother. Listen to them. like, I just tell you, take my advice. But these are things that could potentially it's harmful right now. Like it hurts in the short run of things, thinking that I'm building this bond with this person and now I have to let them go. But in the long run, I believe that you will be a lot more grateful for that because you potentially avoided a situation imploding on itself, or you potentially avoided some shrapnels that come as a result of that relationship blowing up. So yeah, it's that in it. You, Jenny.
Can you repeat the question?
All right. So I'm asking, should your parents, should family members or relatives be involved in the choosing process where you're choosing a spouse?
Choosing, I would say no. And I would say no. And I always like to look at scriptures. God did not choose Eve for Adam. Because when when the Bible said he brought the woman to the man, he was basically parading the woman.
Okay.
And Adam chose bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, and he chose Eve.
All
Right? And
Okay.
that is because God gave us free will.
True.
But then going back, remember, Adam was where he was supposed to be. So he was in God's presence. He was walking. He was doing what needed to be done. Right? So then when God paraded the woman for him, he was able to discern that this is my type. Right? Because remember, they were beasts, they were this, they were that. If Adam did not know, if he was not where he was supposed to be, Adam could have gotten together with a beast. Right?
Yo, it was a thing.
So my thing is, I don't think they should be involved in choosing, because I think if you're where you're supposed to be, then you would know the qualities that you're looking for and what you want in a spouse, right? And even in terms of choosing, when you're waiting on God for a spouse, in the sense that, him parading persons for you, I'm sure you all hear the saying, when you're waiting on God, do what waiters do and serve, right? So when you're serving, then God parades, you have discernment, you know what you want, you choose.
Right.
Should you bring the person to you? Because my thing about the choosing, right? We don't all come from homes with whole marriages or sometimes single parents, no marriage at all. So if you're getting advice from the wrong persons, then sometimes you could miss your cloud by that, because I don't find you look, because to them, your mother might have been, your parents might have been married and they have gotten divorced,
Yes.
or probably they separated.
All man is the
And
same.
I don't find something just wrong, something just off about that fella. Yeah, something just off about that fella. I can't put my finger on it yet, but something off about him.
And what is it? Really?
What is it, right?
Yeah.
But it's because they have that bitterness and that, so I think that you're supposed to choose, and then, out of protocol, and so, you bring the person to, daddy, mommy,
Respect.
this is
Yes.
so, whatever it is. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. I like what you said, because I wanted to speak about, what the Bible has to say about all of this. And the Bible gives us a lot of stories, when I say stories, we know they're real life, right?
Accounts.
And all of this actually happened. Accounts, I like that word, right? Many accounts of persons who got married and all that happened. And we see the account of, for example, when Isaac had to get his wife, they sent somebody and they basically chose on his behalf. But a lot of these things that happened in biblical days, it was
the
because of
culture
the
at the time.
culture at
Yeah.
the time, all right, and how things happen. In today's world, things are a little bit different.
But-
And sorry, you wanted to chip in
No,
there?
but I'm still saying, if parents are involved, not that they get to choose for
Not
you,
that they get to choose.
but at the same time, they still have a little role, out of respect. But I think some parents are just trying to like, they're too much, man.
Yes.
Or they had to pull back, man.
Yeah, they'll overdo it for
You understand?
sometimes.
Yes.
It's like all they want to just rule all their children life, all when they turn big, hard back man and woman. They're
And
adults
I
and
like
they
the
can
fact
make
that-
decisions on their own.
That's right. So I like the fact that
Yeah.
Jen spoke about our choice. Right? God did bring Eve to Adam, but he had to say, "This is flesh of my flesh,
Yeah,
bone of my
my
bone,"
bone, yeah.
and accept her as a wife. Right? So there is the free choice there. And each of us, if somebody is choosing for you, I know there are different cultures where this still happens, right? And I'm not by any means putting down anybody's culture,
yeah.
right? Maybe to that person, that's the way it's done, and they accept it, right? But I still think in those cultures, the person still has to accept the wife or I'm not too sure how it happens, right? But God gave each of us free choice. So I would say,
But sorry for cutting you, but even then, some people, like some parents, it doesn't make it really hard for the children. Because sometimes if a child make a decision, and sometimes, yes, the parents may have that, that eye, they may pray and fast, and God will and can speak to them about the decision that the child is making, and it could be a bad choice that could lead them to through many hurts and pain, futuristically speaking. So you don't want to be totally disrespectful. But there's a difference when with when someone is a child and when someone is an adult, and
yeah.
parents have to learn to respect the decisions and the choices that the children make, and let them live with it. You understand? That's the choice they made. It might be hard,
tough one, eh? It's a tough one.
So sometimes
It's a tough one.
parents don't want to see that. Maybe sometimes they have their own trauma and they probably seeing things that they saw in the man that hurt them or the woman that hurt them, and then they're quick to say, no, you see them time they saw
And
it.
I believe that's what Jen was
I know
alluding to,
about
yes.
this kind. They don't
Yes.
choose them. One day we have to someone make a decision and say to our sons. But I think if you teach them right from time they were young, and you instill certain things in their minds, because guess what? Parents still have a great role to play as to who the children will choose to marry. Because if you train your children right, you don't have to worry in the future to tell them don't do this and don't do that. You already do all the work when the children was young. You're bending it all the while, and you're guiding them. I talk to my children and them about certain things, So I'm saying is that, like, when they reach our age, even then, if you're doing such a good job, they would come and ask your opinion
Yes.
on matters.
And that's where you can
could
give your little 2 cents.
But you're not telling them, don't make that choice. Let wisdom prevail. As
Let
you
them
drop it on the
choose.
table, partner man, the choice is yours. You choose, but just note, if you choose wrong or you make a bad move, you have to
live with the choice.
All right? Don't come
And
and
I
knock my door and cry in the night and thing and tell my daddy I want to get this place back inside. You want to put me out. You understand? All right.
I think that this is very important because thinking about it, going back to all that we're speaking about there, I know somebody who actually discouraged me from marrying my husband.
Yeah.
I could think of at least one person
Don't
who
call
discouraged
name,
me.
bro.
No, I call a name.
Okay, good.
These boys and them, these kind of people like he's so don't get involved with these kind of
Yeah,
people.
man,
So,
that's-
and if I had if I had listened to them, then we would not be today. All right, so we have to be. All right. So we have to be careful who we listen to
Take
and
counsel from.
who we take counsel from, because you could be missing out on your blessing
And it's tricky,
if you
yeah.
listen to the wrong counsel.
And some of them may
Alright.
sound so right because they may know somebody for who they were.
Yeah.
Right? Not who they are. Not who
Yes.
God is working on them to be. So that's why in choosing you have to be so wise.
Discerning.
Because you ever hear, I know of a woman, for example, who she was a prostitute. She was the worst thing over there. And the man she married to was a pastor.
Wait,
Yeah,
you
understand?
know them personally? Or
Nah,
like,
I know them and and testimony and the internet thing.
Okay, cool. That's
Understand?
a wild story. All
A
right.
woman,
Yeah.
she's a
That's
woman I know her
crazy.
still. But one saying is that, and how God was able to change, but her circumstances caused her to take that life, that choose that path. You know, so when a person go through the thing and they find healing and so forth, but you have to know by the time when she was a prostitute, you are being a pastor or man of God, you want to go and say, you know. But then again, you see God to do some kind of crazy things. So God telling you. And
That's what
But
Situation
God
in
in
the
the
Bible
Bible, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, you
Yeah, the
understand?
prophets married
You
a
see, so they
prostitute.
got
All
married a
right,
prostitute.
all right.
To bring a
So-
point across, eh?
That's right. That's right. That was Hosea,
Yeah.
right?
Hosea, right.
So going back to the point that Jenny made, God allows us free choice, but I also believe that God gives us wisdom, right? And He allows certain persons into our lives. Well, He brings certain persons into our lives for destiny and for purpose.
Yeah.
So if it is that my husband is, he brought us together in the sense that not that I'm not saying necessarily that God chose Justin for me. I had to make the choice and say, yes, I want this to be my husband. But I'm saying indirectly, God brought us together with purpose in mind.
Yeah.
All right? So that's why when Brother Elo spoke about your wife as a husband, as a person choosing a spouse, your wife is supposed to be a helpmate. When you are choosing, you keep in mind, okay, she does this, I'm doing that. She can be a helpmate to me because X, Y, Z. I see these qualities in her. She is going to not necessarily I'm 50% and she's going to be the next 50%.
Yes.
But I'm using the word loosely that she completes me to the sense that I'm a musician, she's a singer, or I may be lacking in a certain area,
Yeah.
and she may be able to assist me in that way. She might be more outspoken, I'm a little shy, but I realize that she is that helpmate to help me be a little bit more outspoken. So in that sense, I like the way that you use the illustration that God paraded Eve in front of Adam, that he can see, okay, yes, this is a good choice, so I am going to choose her, right? In the same way, God can parade your wife in front of you, right? You how we met, everybody tired here the the testimony of how we met.
I never
right?
hear it in this.
You never hear? So we were a part of. So in those days, Jade used to have a choir for gospel. What we used to call it? Gospel Splash.
Okay,
Gospel
right.
Splash. And we were a part of the choir, right? And he heard me singing, or maybe he saw other things.
I saw
Right? He
the angel.
He saw.
The voice and thing.
Right.
And I was like, wow, you know. She didn't have the long hair and thing that time because
Her hair was natural.
that was one of my prerequisites as we talk about that. God, she must be brown skin with long hair.
Oh,
And, you know.
you make it a race thing,
Bro,
Jeff.
that kind of movie woman I was thinking about, because at the time I used to watch a lot of movie, you understand? So, yeah, but she hair wasn't that way, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, it was a situation where, you know, and that's the thing. Even as we talked about it last week, last program, I really didn't have it all put together, to be honest. Like when I was thinking about, you know, but I know one thing though. We prayed a lot together. You understand? When we came together, prayer was an ongoing, and the study of the word was something, at least up until the point in time we get married, the foundation was built and focused on
And that
God.
was my prayer, was that, Lord, I want a man. And yes, it may have been based on, you know, some of the experiences that I had, right? But one of my prayer, right, that I told God, I said, Lord, I want a man that loves you more than he loves me. Above all things, that
That's
is
it.
what I want. I want a man that loves you the
My
most.
ground
He
was,
loves
God, I
you.
don't want no insecure woman because I'm not perfect. And I always say that, God, I ain't perfect.
So-
Because she looking for a perfect man, you understand?
That's not you.
I die.
Yeah.
But
So
I
God
don't
hears
want-
your prayer, you know.
Yes.
He hears your
Understand?
prayer,
Yes.
and he sends the person your way. Look. I'm
Parent
showing you. Look, choose.
Yo,
Right? This is. Go
I
ahead.
have a question, right?
Yes.
Because this is going back to what Sabi was saying earlier,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, government name not Sabi, but yeah, this is going back to what Sabi was saying, oh yeah. So you were talking about when you have hurts and wounds and the whole marriage counseling thing, right? Well, non-married people going and sit down and then married people giving them advice and that whole conference thing, right? So there was the thing that you were saying about you not feeling able to tell somebody your business, right? Or but then you're still insisting that it should be comfort. You should be in a place where you're comfortable telling other people about your wounds and about your hurt, people who could help. How do you know if somebody is someone that could help you in your business and you could tell them certain things about them and they would help you and not necessarily harm you? Because the way I see it, that's a big risk that somebody is taking.
And that's where the question came in about the vulnerability, even with the same individual. And that's where so much persons who tend to like hold back. But you know, I believe God have persons that He has called. And that person don't always have to be a pastor. They don't always have to be the prophet or the evangelist. God has His people that He has designed and equipped with the information that you need. First of all, you start with prayer. You understand? And you ask God to lead you and see where He does. So it's not that you just get up and feel like, yo, I need to go and tell somebody about what I'm going through. You need to be praying. Relationship is good. You could always, boy, listen, God gave you the spirit of discernment. And you might say to yourself, I ain't trust nobody, but trust me, you could not trust nobody and you can end up staying and die a lonely death. So my thing is, you might as well go and say, God, I don't trust nobody, but I trust you. So lead me. Cause me to know who you're leading me to. And trust me, sometimes the individual God leads you to, they would just start talking to you about certain things. Even they would give you counsel sometimes they didn't even know they counseling you by the
You didn't even tell them how
so you can't look at it one way. Answer can come in different ways, and then he might kind of like show you, listen, this is somebody who has the information I need and can give me the help that can help me to heal. That what we talk about,
Right.
so that I can be whole again. At least I can go ahead and share my wholeness with someone. You check what I'm saying? So that's my little piece of answer right there. At least start with God. Alright? But you could say what you think.
Well, certainly prayer is always the best place to start in my book, right? Because when you pray, all right.
Good, bro.
So when you pray, that's where the Lord will direct you. So if you're unsure or you're feeling a little insecure as to who should I talk to, should I pick this one, that one, the other? God answers prayers in ways that that will baffle us. Oh my gosh, as my husband just said, sometimes you don't even go to the person first, but they come to you and they start a conversation that get into the conversation that you really wanted to have.
Bro, sometimes that person, God give that person a message to come to you, and it's confirmation. You understand?
They're reading your mail.
And you know it's like, when they come to you, it's like, yo, God, I was just...
Only God, yeah.
Nah. That is clearly you speaking to me.
Yeah.
It's not even my intuition or my, whatever word you could put there that is not real. It's you knowing for sure. It's undeniable. It is real.
It must be God. No other way.
And based on what it is,
Yes.
it has to be
God
leading me to. Because you're asking God to send somebody.
And sometimes it's God's way of speaking. Because
Yes.
sometimes,
Because you have to use people.
persons may think, I had to hear a little audible voice. But just by you coming and confirm what I've been praying for, it's
Right.
God's way of speaking to them.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I would say that I believe there are people who God has called and set apart and given a heart for that type of ministry, because it is ministry. That's why you have persons who have the gift of counselors. The Bible tells us in Psalms 1:1, you understand, about counsel and the type of counselor you should be around. You understand? There are people who will scorn and mock you when they hear your situation because they think they're so perfect and they're so righteous. It's amazing that God will allow the wounded sometimes to become the surgeons. If you understand what I'm saying?
Nice how God does work,
The wounded being that you have walked certain road, experienced certain things, and you get greater understanding. And then God is, people who write the greatest books are people who have been through the greatest tragedies sometimes.
True.
True. So when you start to listen to these people, they are not just telling you what they feel. They're telling you stuff that they experienced, and they experience being truthful. So when they go through things, you understand, But you can listen a lot to people speaking too. You can observe them. You could pay attention. You could, you know, and it's so much simple things you can apply there, and the whole issue of confidentiality with people. I don't want to say in Grenada, but maybe in the world could be a kind of tricky thing. Like you say, I trust no man but God, or I trust God that He's going to work on that man if that's the man He lead you to get the counsel from. You
Oh,
understand?
yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and then yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, hello. I think ideally there are people who are cut out for that and who understand what they are doing. If you don't know who they are, ask God to lead you to them. Simple.
That's some good stuff, man. I mean, I don't want to like take over the conversation
Nah,
or
man,
anything.
flow now.
Okay. So like, I have just one more thing. So, going back to what you were saying about not everybody needs to be a prophet or apostle or whatever in order to speak into your life, right? God doesn't
counsel
willing
you.
to counsel you,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So I remember a couple of years ago the situation that I can remember plainly, where this person, they went and they talked to a quote unquote counselor. Well, sorry, counselor by job, right?
Yeah,
Counselor by counselor by government salary.
Right,
So
right.
they were talking to that counselor, and like the counselor gave them some advice, and I heard the person, because they told me, right, and like I heard the advice and I was like, wow, that's what a counselor tell you to do. I was like, cool, all right, so it's all well and good. So like you have a lot of people who, I guess by their profession they would do a certain thing, but like you were saying, Sabi, the call of God in their lives, it's not really there. It's just a way to, one, get a paycheck, or two, live up to the obligations that people are expecting you to live up to, and not necessarily because you are led in that ministry or because God is directing you in that ministry. There are people who are in the counselor's position who doesn't have the patience to be a counselor.
Right.
They don't even
Motive.
have the wisdom sometimes, bro. I mean, like, I ain't trying to fight down counselors. I believe in them, and I believe that we need a lot more godly counselors who can lead people the right direction.
Yes, I like that word, godly.
But when you have people who don't know God, they don't know themselves, like going back to what Jenny was saying, they don't know their purpose in life, where they came from, where they're going, and they're expected to lead somebody because they could talk a lot, or because they went and they study counselology in school or something, you know, and they have their bachelor's degree in counselfication. They come in and they pour into your life. And some of the things that they pour into you, if you don't know, and if you can't discern, if you don't know God's word for yourself, it could break you. Because I believe that people who are of God, and yeah, bro, people who are of God would always lead you in a godly direction.
True.
No way in the world would the devil ever lead you closer to God.
Exactly.
I just always tell people that. So if you want to know if somebody is speaking in themselves, or if this is actually God's voice or something, God do other answer by thunder, God do other answer by fire, and them type of things. Because that's what happened to, what was his name, Elijah. God hide him in a rock, God answered through the thunder, God answered through the fire, God answered through the wind and the earthquake and thing, and then God answered by the still small voice. And the still small voice was God actually being there. All the other things, God wasn't really present in that. But yeah, that goes back to the point I was trying to make. So if you know that if somebody is of God and they start pouring into your life, then you would know immediately if you're able to vent that or line that up with the word of God. That's why it's so important to know the word of God for yourself, especially in this day and age. Because I believe in counselors, honestly, I do. And I believe that, again, we need a lot more of them. But there are lots of people who are out there who may have the appearance of a counselor or who may have the office, and you go there expecting them to give you a word or expecting them to help you in the problem, when in actuality they are leading you further away from God. Because I heard people say,
counsel.
yeah, I heard people say things like you should go and take the depression medications, or I hear people say things like or you're tense sexually, or them type, bro.
Yeah.
Like I heard some weird, messed up things out
It's deep.
in my life. Like I'm
Deep.
like, these are advice that you're actually getting from people who does make a living off of this thing.
True.
Well, best you just pay me to be a counselor today or tomorrow, and like, I don't mind making that bread. You know?
But it's deep because I met a lady and she said that she worked on the psychiatric ward and all they did was just medicate the patients.
Yeah,
They
bro.
didn't care. They just treat them like lab rats. And she said this thing hurt her heart so much because she know these people need Jesus. All they need is to be able to deal with the pain that they are feeling. Sad to say, these are the same people looking to go into a relationship. And some people may not be on the psych ward, may not be in the hospital, or for persons in the psychiatric, how do you say that, psychiatric assessment, but they are bleeding. I love the bleeding. They're bleeding, Jenny. You know? Go ahead, Jenny.
No, I just wanted to say, even as Ella was speaking about, the counselors and so on, that's why it's important, even as single persons too, to have godly mentors,
Truth.
so that there are things that, you may want answers to, or, probably you read in the Bible, yes, but certain things that you do not understand, and especially as a single person that probably desiring marriage, and so you look for, like a couple that you look up to, a married couple that you look up to, and nobody is perfect. No
True.
couple is perfect.
That's right.
But you know that you can actually look up to these persons and speak to them so that they could pour into you, because sometimes you don't have it at home. Like I said, sometimes, you come from a single parent's home, or even if your parents are married, probably they're not Christians, or, they're not living, the right way that they're supposed to as, so that's why it's important to have godly mentors as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You have a question here, though.
And we winding down things tonight.
Long things there. So the question is, your present standard of red flag, should I base it as well on someone past life? So the person is asking, your standard of red flag, should you base it on someone's past
I
life?
get that question.
As well?
I use it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
that's my phone. I use it up for Jenny. Go ahead.
So Jenny, so you meet somebody, you get to know about the person had a kind of past, right? That is, the past is like red flags to you. They are red flags to you. Should you say, because you have that past, nah, there can be no future with us.
Well, everybody have I guess
Skeletons.
not just the skeletons, but everybody have their list, as to this is what I want, or this is what I don't want, or whatever it is. But some persons just ask some like weird questions too. For example, I don't know if to say a word, but it's like, so we're dating, and I'm asking you, like, thing going real nice, real good in the dating process, and all of a sudden I come and say, so tell me now, what is your body count?
A rebuke.
Right? And then after, you might say, well, maybe like 20 or maybe 5, it depends on the person. And then all of a sudden, because of that, it's like, I start probably, not liking you as much as. So to me, I don't think red flag should be based on a person's past. If you decide, okay, everybody is different, as I said. So, if you decide, probably, I see potential in this person, and I want to get to know this person on a deeper level, and then the person tell you, well, they decide to be vulnerable, right? And they say, well, before we go any further, I just need to clear out my closet, and they tell you so. And this, if that was in your past and you're a changed person now, then I see that we could go past it. But if well, you're telling me that, but you're still doing it in secret, then it could be a problem.
That's different.
Yeah.
I believe that one is the key. So I heard Pastor Vlad was talking about this, Vlad Savchuk, a while back. He was talking about his wife and how, like, she came out from a lifestyle, right? And then because she was a Russian or whatever, and then she went back to Russia for a while. And she was going there with the purpose of evangelizing to her friends, to the people who are still in that lifestyle. And I remember he said, well, she came out and she gave her testimony, and she said that while she went back there, she got influenced to go back into that life, because I guess because she came out from Jesus, she was passionate and her intentions were true. Her intentions were just to go out there and witness to her friends, win them for Jesus. But the temptation and where she was in her current life, her current situation, it wasn't able to carry her through. It wasn't able to prepare her to get through that situation. So she was still tempted, and she ended up falling back into that lifestyle. So the way I would gauge that is not necessarily like the person's past or whatever that person's did in the past is the thing that you should be concerned about. A person could kill 100, 200. That person could be a doorknob. Every man take a turn. It doesn't matter. What matters actually is whether or not that person is living a repentant life. Repentant doesn't mean God, I'm sorry, though forgive my sins and them type of things. Repentant, yeah, metanoia, to change your mind. It means, God, I'm seeing this the same way you see it. I see this as sin because you say it's sin. And even though I may not feel like it's sin to me right now, I want to eventually submit to you to the point where you completely change me so I can see this like you. Yeah.
This is some good stuff. I think I think this conversation, as Brother Trevor said, we might just need to have a part 2 of this conversation. There is so much to talk about where choosing a spouse is concerned, and I don't think that if we were to continue the conversation, we won't finish right now.
Because you didn't even get through half of the first page.
There is so much that we need to talk about. So I think we possibly need a part 2 of this topic, but we will definitely have to close off tonight. We are, going on to 9:15 in the PM. But it has indeed been a really interesting and educational kind of conversation. I know that our conversation tonight really helped a lot of persons.
I would say I'm really proud of these 2 young people.
Oh,
right
yes.
here. Y'all made me smile tonight. And
I kind of feel like if they're ready, man, they're ready.
Man, I kick back a little bit and, quiet down myself and just listen to it. It was a joy listening to Ero
really
and
wonderful.
to Jenny.
I don't know if they want to say anything before we close off tonight.
I'm almost speechless.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is that, let me just put this there, we purposely did not inform them of none of the questions.
Yeah,
So
this is
they
impromptu for them.
For them, it was totally impromptu.
Off the dome.
You understand? So what you got came from the heart.
Yeah.
No fake, no fake up, no makeup. Real thing. Yeah? Boom.
So guys, what would you be closing off tonight? We just want to give you the opportunity to say a few things before we close off tonight, but we'll definitely have to continue this topic at another time.
Right, I'm going. Want me to go? Okay, cool.
You go first, Elo, you go first.
The man had a lead.
That's right, the man had a lead.
Just to recap a lot of the major points. If you're somebody that's looking to be in a relationship, one, you can't rush to go in it because everybody's going in it. We iterate on that, we beat it like a dead horse. You can't jump into a relationship because that's what everybody's doing. And this is one thing that I got, this is the advice that I got, and I believe that it should stick with people too. You don't jump into a relationship because, one, you're lonely, and two, because you're looking for a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You jump into a relationship because you're ready to find a wife, or you're ready to find a husband, and you're ready to fulfill the role of the wife and the husband. And you're ready to help that person. Because if you're not able to submit yourself to your husband, and if you're not able as the man to protect and to lead and to guide in the right direction, then there's a lot more work than you need to do, and there's only going to be pain and hurt that you're going to cause the other person because you're not at a place where you're prepared to be in that relationship, a place where you're prepared to handle the responsibilities of that relationship. So if you're looking to get into a relationship, make sure that you're fully ready. Make sure that you've gone through all the list of what God said love should be, or God said a husband should be to his wife, and make sure that you are actively fulfilling those lists right now. Don't wait until you jump into the marriage to do it. Don't wait until you jump into the marriage to get rid of your addiction and to throw away your games and to actually get a job and to start watching porn and them type of things. Like, do the things now so that when you jump into that relationship, you're already in a place where you're ready for your wife. So that's me.
Love this.
Amen. So now I will write on my friend a little bit. I just want to say, like I've been stressing for the night, to really embrace your singleness, and I would say that you're not truly ready for marriage until you have been truly single. So, separate, single, unique, and whole. Not half. People will say, well, I'm a better half, not half, whole. Because, even as a lot of y'all might know, this song that says, how do I live without you?
I want to know.
We don't want to be in that kind of situation. So we come in whole, so that when we pour into each other, we will be, it will be an overflow and not us emptying, or not it's like, one person is whole and then the next person is like a leech on that person. And I also want to say, if you did not grow up seeing a healthy marriage, it is really important for you to learn the traits of a healthy marriage. Because if you don't, then you would revert to what you know or what you've seen growing up. And don't, as Elo said, don't rush into marriage. Marriage is all about becoming one. And in becoming one, there are a lot of traits that you have to learn and unlearn for that to happen. So I'd just like to end by saying that tonight.
It has certainly been a pleasure to have Jen and Elo with us tonight. And for those of you who are listening out there, you're on YouTube, you are on Facebook, you're listening to us on www.hopefmgrenada.com. We are appreciative of you listening and being with us tonight. It has indeed been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us on Becoming One.
Well, until next time, we'll catch you guys again. All right? Got a lot of great things in store. So God bless you. Enjoy.
Good night, everyone.
Becoming one. For this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his own wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Becoming One, a program designed to strengthen marriages, challenge couples, and reignite our passion for loving, godly relationships. Join us as we discuss kingdom marriage principles on Becoming One, hosted by the Sabazans. Becoming One.